Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Porcoboro here, and today I want to teach you how to play Razz. For those of you who have been playing Texas Hold'em No Limit for the last 15-20 years, at some point you've got to get tired of the game or want some variation, and that is where the mixed games come into play. Um, Very strong following out there of mixed game players, and hopefully we can help grow that community so that we have more variations of poker being offered out there, both in cash games and tournaments at all the venues that offer poker games. But anyway, Razz. Razz is a stud variant game. The format is fairly simple but complex to new players. It's a ring game. You can play up to 8 players. Ideally, you want to have 6 or 7 players in the game. But basically, just a quick summary. The game involves everyone receiving 2 face down cards, 1 up card. There's a round of betting. You then get a 4th card that's dealt face up, round of betting. 5th card also up, round of betting. 6th card also up, round of betting. And the final 7th card dealt face down with the final round of betting. You take your 5 best cards to make your hand and see who the winner is. So in this video, we're going to get into the nuances and details of how exactly the game works, so that if you've never played it before, you'll be able to sit down at a table and know exactly what's going on and be able to be competitive from the standpoint of having knowledge and being able to implement some of the more advanced techniques or theories, so you can be a okay to good Razz player. All right, so first things first, since we're targeting this to absolute newbies, we want to make sure that you understand hand rankings. That's the first thing, because it can be a little bit confusing in Razz for people that aren't used to that format. So the best hand you can have is Ace Deuce 3 4 5, also known as the wheel. In Razz, suits are irrelevant except for when it comes to the bring in, which we'll get into in a minute. But again, suits are not relevant. Ace counts as a low card, and the worst card you can have is a king, followed in sequence by the queen, the jack, the 10, the 9, the 8, the 7, and so on, all the way down to the ace. Pairs are bad. You don't want a pair, but a pair is better than having a set being 3 cards of the same rank.
Please note that straights also don't count against you.
Flushes, which is having a 5-card hand of the same suit, such as spades, diamonds, hearts, clubs. Flushes don't matter in the game of Razz. And the worst possible hand that you can actually make in Razz, again, five cards to make a hand. Worst possible hand you can have is a set plus a pair. You can technically have 4 of a kind, but you wouldn't have those 4 as part of your hand. So technically, you can have four of a kind, but you would not have that as your actual hand, because you get to choose 5 out of the 7 cards to make your best hand. So actually, the worst hand you can present is a full house. But anyway, let's move on. The strength of the hand is determined by the highest ranking card in your hand versus the opposing highest ranking card in your opponent's hand. If the cards are of the same rank, so like King King or 7-7, 5-5, then you compare the next highest card. So if your next highest card is a 10 and your opponent's next highest card is also a 10, well, then you go to the next card, the 3rd card, and so on until you get to the 5th and final card. If it happens that all of your 5 cards match, then you split the pot because you both have the same hand. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of Razz hands so you can get a little bit familiar with the terminology and comparing hands in terms of value. So on the top here, you've got the 6, 7, 9, 10, 6, deuce, 3. What are your lowest 5 cards there? Well, you've got the deuce, the 3, the 6, the 7, and the 9. So the way you state your hand in this instance would be, I've got a 976 low. So 976, 3, 2. On the bottom hand, you have got 563, 10, 9, 2, 2. So you've got the 2, the 3, the 5, the 6, and the 9. So you've got 965 is your hand. 965 low. Versus up top, again, that was a 976. So the nines cancel each other out. You go to the second highest card. On the top, you've got a 7. On the bottom, you've got a 6. 6 is a lower card, so that is a better hand. So in this example, the lower hand is the winner because you've got the 965 versus the 976 up top. Okay, so earlier in the video, we showed a short clip of the beginning of a razzed hand being dealt out. We're going to continue on from there. But a couple things regarding the dealing nature of Razz. So you're always going to start dealing to seat 1. So from the dealer to the left first person, seat 1, and then going around to the last person, up to seat 8. So always deal to the left and then going around to the end, always dealing 1 card at a time. Again, you get 2 cards face down, 1 card face up, and then the following cards will be face up until the very last card, which will be face down. At the beginning, once everyone has dealt their initial 3 cards, you're going to look around and see who has the bring in. The bring in Razz basically is another forced ante. Because for the most part, in a typical Razz game, you're going to have everybody ante. And then the highest card showing will be the Brigade card or the Door card. Now you got to go to suit. So this is where the suits become relevant in Razz. Basically, it's alphabetic. You've got clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. Clubs being the lowest, spades being the highest. And in Razz, the highest card brings in. So if you got a spade uh, versus a club, the spade is going to be the higher card. That's going to be the bring in. Okay, so let's take a look at the hand we had started. We've got a Queen of Hearts showing as the high card, so they bring in. I folded that hand prematurely. Really, the action would have gone to the 7 of spades as the next player to act. Not knowing what their whole cards are, we're just going to judge off what's showing that all of these players would have continued on by, matching the bet. They would have had the option to complete, which usually would be double the ante or equal the ante. Again, it's going to depend on how the game is structured. Well, for reference, let's go ahead and talk about structures real quick. Here up on the screen, you can see an example of what the World Series of Poker did for their one of their bigger Razz satellites. They have a $10,000 Razz championship, and they have a satellite for $1,110. They give you 15,000 in chips. Levels are 30-minute long, and this is the structure that they use for that satellite. Now, generally speaking, World Series of Poker satellites are fast, a little aggressive in their structure. You really don't get a ton of play value, but this is the structure that they used. And looking at it, it's not horrible. But just this is an aside comment that if you ever do go to the World Series of Poker, the satellite structures, generally speaking, stink. You don't get as much value as you would expect. But anyway, that's what it is. So you can kind of gauge that and play around with whatever tournament you want to set up or however you want to structure your game, this gives you a benchmark to go off of. Okay, so in general, the cost to play Razz tournament or cash game, um, up on the screen here, you'll see the summary. Basically, you're going to always be posting an ante. Uh, Betting amount's going to be predetermined by the game limit or the tournament level. You're going to have a bring-in, which will be paid by the highest card showing. You'll have the option to complete, which basically means that you will place a full bet for that current level. Third Street, Fourth Street are small bets, and Fifth Street to the final Seventh Street are large bets. So typically the large bets are twice the size of the small bet amount. So strategically, usually by Fifth Street, you need to determine whether you're going to be hanging in to the end or if you should save your money and get out. Fifth Street is probably one of the key levels to determine, what you're going to do. Okay, so let's start with the fresh hand of Razz and play it from the beginning. In this example, we're going to assume that we're in a cash game. The dollars, or the white is a dollar chip, red is a $5 chip. Game structure is a dollar ante for everybody. Bring in is also a dollar. Small bets $5, big bets $10. So first things first, everyone's going to ante in. Again, $1. We're then going to deal out starting at seat 1. These are some pretty horrible Razz hands to start with, but let's go with it. So high card, that would be the King of Hearts. So they have the choice of, well, they have to bring in for at least the $1 bring in, or they can complete to the small bet of $5. In this scenario, you could make a case for going ahead and completing, depending on what 2 cards they have underneath, because all of the other cards that are exposed are so bad. But let's just go ahead and do the $1 bring-in. The 10s, not particularly good starting hands, but again, given what's out there, might be worth $1. Why not? And again, we don't know what's underneath right now. We'll go ahead and fold the jack. The 6. Given that they've got such an advantage in terms of what's showing, they're going to probably want to complete. So they say complete, $5. The queen's going to go ahead and fold. King, since it's already on $1 in, we're going to take a peek and see what else they got. They got an 8 and 2. Not the best in the world, but not horrible. If you're the gambling type, you might stick around since you already got $1 in there. For the sake of the video, we're going to stick around. And 10s, they have a decision to make also based on what they have underneath. 4 and a 5 there. Let's take a peek. 3 and a 4. They both have good cards in the hole. So they're going to go ahead and complete on both. See one more street. Now, in Razz, every level card dealt out is referred to as a street. So the next card is going to be 4th Street. So typically in Razz, burn a card and then go ahead and deal out starting in seat 1. Okay, and we're continuing with some pretty ugly looking hands. We are now looking for which hand is currently in the lead. And that would be the, believe it or not, the 10-6. That is the best hand currently showing. So they've got the option to make the small bet of $5 or not do anything. And in this scenario, given that we remember they had 2 low cards in the hole, let's go ahead and make the small bet. 10 queen is looking very marginal. It's going to probably end up folding. King 6, we don't know what's in the hole. Let's assume it's 2 decent cards. Let's stick around. And the King 9, what did we have in the hole? 8 deuce. That would be pushing our luck, but again, for the sake of the video, let's hang around. Okay, so now we go to 5th Street. Again, burn a card. All right, pairing up here is obviously not what you want to happen in Razz. So who has the best hand so far? That would, again, be the 10-6 ace. They're definitely in the lead. So they're going to go ahead and bet out. 6 and a 3 with the king, depending what 2 cards are underneath, which again, we haven't looked, but they'll probably want to come along with the king, and then a pair of 9 showing garbage. Fold them out, and now we go to 6th Street. Again, burn, face up. This hand is essentially about over. Odds of this hand beating that hand with just what's on showing, pretty slim. But let's play it out. We'll say they both check because just want to show the last one. Burn, last card face down. And for the sake of the video, let's just assume everybody checks, exposes their hands to see what they've got, so we can see if we remember how to value the hands. Wow. So this would have been a pretty decent stud hand, but obviously the wrong game. So their best 5 cards, 3, 5, 6. That's actually their best hand. Pair of 3s, then a King 6-5, which obviously is going to lose out to what we've got here, which is a 7 low, 7-6-5, 4 ace. So there you have one hand example from beginning to end in Razz. All right, so let's do one more hand of Razz. Hopefully we get a situationally favorable deal, because I'm not prepping this for the video. We're just going to deal out what we've got. But there's a couple of things I hopefully want to point out. Okay, so one of the things that you want to do in the game of Razz is pay attention to what is being shown out. Having one of your cards duplicated in another hand is good for you, because again, you have less odds of you pairing up, which is important because you're looking for 5 unique cards as low as possible. So ideally, if this, for example, had been a 3, the 3s would be in very good shape. 10's kind of a high card value, not ideal. These are some fairly ugly looking starting hands again. But let's take a peek and see what everyone has. All right, so let's take it from left to right. If you were in the first position with that 5 of spades, queen of diamonds in the hole, you would see that there's a queen out showing, which is good for you, but the queen's a pretty crappy hand. 10 doesn't help. You're basically going to be out of this hand. You know, if you don't have to bring in, go ahead and fold. The 8 deuce with the 9, not a terrible hand given what's been exposed. You would like to see some deuces, some 8s. or even nines exposed, but given what's out, it's not a bad starting hand. Paired up, split. So here you've got the 10 in the hole and a king in the hole with the 10 exposed. So this is what's called a split pair, because you've got a pair in your hand, but it's hidden. It's a split pair. If you had 10-10 in the hole with the king exposed, well, then you've got, a pair in the hole. The 4-8 queen, in this scenario, the queen would have been the bring-in. And given the other cards that were exposed, you could make a case for hanging in that hand because that 4 and the 8 is not terrible. And you might be willing to go see 4th or 5th Street depending on how the betting goes out in this particular scenario. Jack 3-3. With the 3 exposed and all the other high cards showing, you could go for a bluff. So you got to be aware of people trying to bluff out in Razz, pretending that they've got 2 decent cards in the hole. And in this, again, in this scenario with all these other high cards showing, and you've got the 3 showing, might be worth trying to bluff your way in. So basically you would lead out by completing the bet, and then pretty much betting out on any decent 4th card to be dealt out and any subsequent cards that follow. The 7-5 in the hole with the 7 showing. Again, you could make a case that might be worth trying to bluff out, but with the 3 behind you, especially if the 3 leads out, let's say, for example, the 3 were to come in and complete the bet, you would be hesitant to continue with already a pair of 7s, because you would assume that they've got 2 low cards in the hole and that you're going to be pretty far behind already with the pair of 7s and a 5, given that also that a 3 is something that you would need, and then not seeing any of your cards being paired up. All right, so hopefully some of those tips will help you in your Razz game.